had asked me to please record. So, but welcome. Thank you so much for joining in with us tonight. We've got quite a lot of information we're going to share with you, and we'll actually have time as well for some Q&A time. Is that my slides moving? There we go. All right. Well, we'll start off. My name is Anna. I'm the founder of International Doula Life Movement. I am here in San Antonio, Texas. I founded the International Doula Life Movement. We are now going on almost 3.5 years now. We have graduated across the world internationally. We're hitting close to 1,000 doulas nationwide, worldwide, globally. And but I myself is also an end-of-life doula. I have been working in hospice for since I was 16 years old. I have worked on a hospice inpatient team, a crisis care team for hospice, as well. Currently, I work for a hospice as an end-of-life doula. I also created and instruct the end-of-life doula program as well. And so that's just a little bit about me. Pam?
Well, my name is Pam, and I'm the executive director here at IDLM. I have been doing this type of work for over 45 years. Before it was called doula, I was what I always said, a transition coach. And in 2020, when the buzzword hit doulas, that's when I started saying I was an end-of-life doula. So as I said, I've done this for 45 years. I co-teach the end-of-life doula course with Anna. I also teach the advanced care planning class, and I teach a course called 365. And Anna and I have been partners since she began the school. She started the school and kept trying to get me to join her. And I kept saying, no, I'm over here in my own backyard. I'm having a picnic and I'm playing. And then the more I talked with her, the more we worked together, she kept pulling me through the door and I wasn't paying any attention. So one day when I wasn't looking, she jerked me through the door and slammed it shut. So here I am. But I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. Anna's my passion is in end-of-life education and seeing to it that we can make a difference in the way people die. Because as you all know, and I'm sure that's what partially brought you here tonight, our medical industry is broken. And without folks like us to help guide people through the end of life, it's a very sad journey. So we are thrilled you're here. You'll learn more about us tonight as we go along. And Anna, I'm going to go ahead and put my phone number and my email address into the box. And then Anna will also put her number and her phone number into the box. Because one of the things we do is we make sure that all our students have a way to get in touch with us. So it is our cell phones. I mean, literally mine's laying here on the desk by me. We go nowhere without them. And it is the direct email. So if you have any questions or if you ever need to get in touch with us, you'll be able to directly reach out and talk to us. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Anna's typing in her information. Give it back to you, Anna, and then I'll put my info in.
Great. Yes. So yes, like Pam said, we always give our students and our graduates and potential students our direct phone number so that you can always reach out to us, because that is just how we do things here. Let me see my screen. Wanting to work with me. All right. So a little bit about our story here at IDLM. One of the reasons why I started IDLM was because years ago, I was like you all looking for a program. Had been doing hospice work in the trenches of it, right? But I realized what I was doing was that of a role of an end-of-life doula. Wanted to make it more official and sought out to look for a training program. I was about to fall over because the cost of these programs are expensive. And I'm sorry, I'm a mom with 4 children, 5 fur babies. And the cost, it was a big financial burden to me. And so I did take one of these programs that was about $3,000. And at the end of it, I was devastated. I was devastated because I didn't get a darn thing out of it. She didn't tell me anything that I already didn't know. The program was branded to that person. And so even because I thought, okay, well, I have the marketing material. Okay, that'll help me out, right? No, because it was all branded to them. So it really didn't serve me much of purpose of anything. But the good thing, the one good thing that came out of it was the fact that I met about 20 to 30 different doulas around the world that were leaving the program and all saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know if I'm confident enough to go out and do this. And I'm like, hold up. You just spent $3,000 to walk out and say those things. So I ended up mentoring those doulas. And so then I started digging around more. And I did a research project where I talked to 30 different doulas across the world. I asked them, what did they like about their program? What did they did not like about their program? What did they wish they would have had? The biggest comebacks to me through that research was price, community, and support. And so from that point, I developed IDLM. We started our very first class with 49 students. I had still enrollments coming in, and I had to open up a second class, which was our weekday class, because we started off with a Saturday class, and then in February we had a weekday class running as well. That class, too, 30 students. And so, and enrollment kept growing. So had to get those other openings up out there. Over the years, when we first started, we started off with a 12-module program. We are now at a 28-module program. And I am very confident when I share with you tonight that I'm not trying to sound like I'm all that in a bag of chips. But what I will say is that if you look around, you're going to find that there are training programs that they are not actually doing the work. All of our instructors here at IDLM are what we call boots on the ground. We're out there working with clients. We are always updating our material. I would say about 6 months into IDLM opening, I started noticing a big peak of people coming into the program that had taken other programs. And so we have just crafted and crafted and crafted, and really now to, I think, where we got the program, we finally got our seal of approvals from some of our graduates that were in our classes from the first and second year, came back this January when we did some adding of a few things and said, Anna, the program was amazing before, it's even better now. So we strive to always do better and to keep it affordable, because I know how it was so hard for me. And I know that this is a soul's calling. So we're not becoming rich. We all have lives going on, right? We all have our own things going on. And so we want to make sure that anyone that is called to doing this work is able to do this work and gain the knowledge and the support and the community that they need to do this work. So just why we're a little, that's why we are cheaper than a lot of other programs out there. Because of the way we want to invest in others. So what is an end-of-life doula? So you'll probably have heard, oh, well, a death doula is someone that's non-medical. They're, they are trained to care for terminally ill person's physical, emotional, and spiritual holistic needs during the death process, But we train our doulas not just to be there at the end of life, but to be there now. Every single one of you here today all need a doula. We all need a doula now. And you're probably thinking, but I'm not dying right now. Well, yes, technically, we are dying right now. We are dying from the moment we are born. But right now, we should be making sure our advanced directives are done and not just following whatever our, areas paperwork that they say we should have done. There's more to it. There's making sure that so many different aspects go into it. I could spend all night talking about it, but there are so much more aspects that go into just your area documents that you are required to have. There's more, and many people don't, not many, most people don't do them. There is the aspect of also looking and understanding the funeral arrangements, that there's green burial options, and there's water cremation, there's natural cemeteries, there's the cremations. There's so many different options Things like people don't realize that they don't even have to buy the coffin at the funeral home. They can buy it off of Sam's Club or Costco. You don't have to purchase through that. So that's why when I say we even work with clients before terminal illness, and that we should all have doulas now. So what do we do as an end-of-life doula? So I shared a little bit there a few minutes ago, but we're also there to create a sacred space. We're also there to educate and to provide a support. We're kind of like an advocate, if you think about it. We advocate for our clients. We advocate for the caregivers. We explain the process of end of life and the different options. So what I like to do is when I go in and I work with the family, I tell them what I do, and I tell them that I'm going to be a resource for you. I'm going to lay down, think of this table here as a table with cards just laid out. And you're going to pick the best card that's for you, that you feel that it, aligns with your beliefs and your values. And I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm just simply going to provide that support. Educate about the dying process. Yes, we have hospice, but guess what? Hospice is hurting too. It's a part of our medical society. Hospice wasn't even meant to be where we just have nurses coming in and out or different disciplines just coming in. Hospice was originally created to be there at bedside when that person is dying. And 9 times out of 10, unless the nurse is by chance is doing her visit at that time, or another discipline is there, no one is there other than the family. Or sometimes they don't have family and there's nobody there. So they need a lot of reinforcements and education to helping them through that process. Another thing that I like to do is I call them my angel vigil watches, but really that's vigiling. And I have to tell you and make this very clear, not all doulas will sit bedside. And what I mean by that is not all doulas will sit there 24/7 until that person passes. You don't have to do that. You can, and you can even set your boundaries. I can come and do visualing, I'll come and sit with you and support you, from 5 to 8, whatever the case might be. So it's really up to you, because you as the doula set what your boundaries are. What things are you going to provide in your services? We can also help clients and families with legacy work. Many people think that legacy work is something that is really drawn out, or you have to start that like years ago. No, legacy work can be something such simple as we had a doula that with her client, she bought this beautiful painting, and the doula videoed the painting with the client overhead talking and sharing why that painting was so important to her. So legacy work can be simple little things. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money or any money. And it doesn't have to be something that has been done over 10, 15, 20 years. We can provide companionship. We can also help our families because, again, remember I was saying we're a resource. We can help our families navigate the medical system, their rights as a patient. That is so important. I have to ask you, like, how many of you all, I don't know why my thing skipped here. How many of you all read your Bill of Rights or your patient rights that you may get at the doctor's office? Have you ever really sat there and read all those papers? Unless you're like super bored, you probably wouldn't. And so a lot of our clients don't know what their rights are as a patient. So we as doulas will go in and share those rights with them and teach them about what their rights are so that they can make better decisions and informed decisions for themselves. We also help with end-of-life paperwork. We could, just going beyond our area directives. We can also work with grief support because as a doula, it's very organic, and because we're building relationships, it happens organically, really, to be honest. You become a part of their family, they become a part of your family. That's just what happens. This is the nature of our work. We can also help with funeral plannings and memorial services, celebrations of life, So Now, one thing that I want to share with you, and I'm going to be really honest with you. So, I'm going to share with you things that I wished that I knew before I started looking for a doula program or really understanding more of the doula role. Because one, here we give you the good, bad, and the ugly. I'm not going to paint pictures of things that are not what they are for you. I want to tell you the truth. I want you to be fully informed of what this entails. Okay. So, doulas are non-governed. There are no accreditations for doulas or doula programs. I have personally seen out there that you will see places that will say they're accredited. Well, guess what? They're not accredited for doula. You know what they probably are accredited for? Through a holistic schooling, which doesn't cover end of life. It's not really end of life work. It's more of a holistic school. I found there was a holistic, not a holistic chamber of commerce, but like a holistic institute that are telling these people are going out and saying that they are accredited. And I'm finding it actually more with our overseas programs, like in Australia. But that should be a really big red flag for you. And we have students who actually come to our program from Scotland, from Peru, from Mexico, from Canada, from Switzerland and Iceland and Finland, all these different areas, because they're not saying what they're saying. Okay. So doula programs versus non-doula programs. You're like, huh? Well, let me explain a little bit more. So many programs will call themselves doula programs, and they're not. What they are more of a exploring your mortality or a spiritual journey. Okay. Other issues that we also see that doula programs are also doing all the time is that they're selling you that they're giving you everything. And the truth of the matter is they're not. They're not giving you support. They're not, it's like you come take our program and we're done with you. Here at IDLM, we build a relationship with all of our students and our graduates. They become, I consider them my friends, to be honest. And I've met such amazing, beautiful people that, I mean, I talk to all the time on the phone. So as a trainer and as a doula, and also what we hear from our students all the time is what we call the skin the surface syndrome. They look like they're giving you all this information. But for example, I had a student who said, I took another program and their pediatrics, they said they covered pediatrics. She goes, but their covering pediatrics was 2 slides in a presentation before they went to the next topic. So we don't do that here. We take a deep dive. We don't skim the surface. Think of throwing rocks in the lake. That we take that deep dive down in. Another thing that I also want to bring up too is that some of the oldest programs are doing this, and we call them bank robbers. And it's not just old, it's also new. But they're taking students' money and running, and leaving the students to navigate the process and trying to figure out how to get their business up and running. And we don't do that here at all. We offer free one-on-one support after school too. So at this time, certifications. So at this time, there are no requirements, okay? Many individuals offer programs based on their own prior experience, and these individuals may have practiced 10 or 15 years ago. But today, they are working from past experience, not experiencing things that are happening at this moment. And this is why we update our program so much, because we're out there in the trenches working. We're out there in our fields of our community, serving our community. Some of these other programs as well, certification programs, are merely discussions that are not offering true dedicated training. They're also, we are finding that they are giving false information and wrong practices. We just saw somebody who is talking about their program, and they did a video, and their video, they're showing them taking vital signs and listening to lung sounds. That is giving a false impression of what doulas do and can land us in many, many troubles. So what we like to do when we're teaching is we like to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. Why don't you do this? Why you do it this way? Theory backgrounds on it. But we do believe certification is crucial. We believe that it's a true deep dive into what's needed and is important, and we offer that current information. Like I've shared, our instructors are in the field. They're currently practicing. They're staying in touch into what is happening today and not yesterday. And we really honestly believe that it's only going to be a matter of time before the doula industry is going to require guidelines and certifications in order to be licensed. And at IDLM, we are prepared for that. We are offering training that goes beyond just how you sit at bedside or how to comfort the dying. We're offering training that is current and that will prepare students and IDLM to be ready when certification becomes necessary for an end-of-life doula. So what should a certification program offer? Well, training is required to effectively provide services to both those immediate need and those who are planning for the future. We offer a comprehensive training in all aspects of doula work. So whether you're just trying to do some basics or you want to expand and specialize, we meet those needs. We have a grief doula program. We have an advanced planning program. And I'm not just talking about a 3 or 4 week program. No, I'm talking about these programs are weeks long. Our advanced planning program actually trains for 17 modules, 70 hours of training. So we take this very, very seriously. And so we really try to, work with whether it's a progressive thinker or someone who wants to plan for a future. A well-trained doula has the knowledge of planning for events as well as the immediate needs of their community. And we, in our programming here, we train to cover those assist individuals to do that. So another thing that I want you to keep in mind is that doula work is not just with the client, but it's also with the client's chosen family in all aspects of preparation. We offer our students training and studying as far as setting the stage, to discussing legacy work, preparing for important documents, planning for final stages, recognizing and educating families on all these different stages of end of life and what to expect, even dealing with grief and moving forward after the death. So it's important to know that, doula work is not just when the family, it really doesn't end. It ends when the family, as long as they need that support, okay? So we become a part of the family, and we become just like any other professional that they come to depend on: doctors, lawyers, insurance agencies, the list goes on. But we become trusted family member to that trusted family. We become always available when that time. We're that person that they can call to when they need support, when they need something. We take that time to get to learn about the families that we're working with, and over the years, we assist them, and we get to know about their past history and comforts of things that they want to have. And so it's really a professional relationship that we build with our families that we're working with. So you're maybe wondering, well, how do I know if this is really something for me? And my biggest thing is, I have to say, if you can be non-judgmental, if you are that person that everybody always calls to support others, if you can meet people where they're at, and if you're okay with sitting with someone dying, you can be an advocate. You don't necessarily have to have experience in the medical field to become a, because remember, we're here to support. Yes, we will, Randy. Thank you so much. We're here to support them throughout that journey. So it's really, really important that we just continue educating. And as a doula, we have to be receptive and to constantly learning as well. So you're probably wondering, well, can end-of-life doulas really make money? I want to point out, I love this quote here, this post that the Grave Woman did. And it says, becoming a funeral, death care, or end-of-life professional is not a vow of poverty. You deserve to earn living serving others during one's most difficult time in their lives. Stop letting society guilt you into thinking that you don't. So if you want to, you're like, hey, Anna, you know what? I want to do this, but I'm not going to charge. Hey, more power to you. I'll support you in any way I can, however I can help you. But if you want to do this as a business, you can do this as a business. We have students who are doing amazing things out in their community. We have a student that took our program last year, and I don't recommend this, but she quit her full-time job, cashed in her retirement, and she has not had to touch that retirement because as soon as she hit the ground running, she was already making money. She is making enough to pay her bills, and she has not had to go into that nest egg. But I mean, we don't recommend just turn around and quit your job tomorrow, but we will help you build up to get to that point where you can, if that's something that you want to do. But you need to be committed to yourself and to this new career. You need to stay educate, education, educate your community. Social media is great. Don't get me wrong. That's how we all got here today, right? But as a doula, our work is done in our community. If we're not out in our community educating and supporting our community about what we do and what doulas can do for them, they're not going to know about us. They're not going to know about us. So it's really important to get into your community. Take advantage of community resources. Here at IDLM, we give all of our students a Business 101. It's a 7-module course that has workbooks. We offer it live sometimes throughout the year, at least twice a year. We offer it live in a live setting online because we have a lot of students who like to do the live classes. So we do recommend our students to go through the self-paced, but then join us on our live. It's amazing. Each time we've done it, it's always different, not the material, but the questions and things like that. So we also offer our doulas not just mentoring support during their time in school. It goes out after completing our programs too, and free 101 support as well. So here at IDLM, we train in this end-of-life doula certification covers multiple specialty areas. It's companion life planning, end-of-life doula, and contemplative doula all rolled into one, and that's why it's called the specialist. We also, with students who complete our courses, they continue to go on to other courses, which once you become family, you receive discounts for future programmings that you may want to take. We offer free continuing education. We do have a requirement for all of our students. It's not, if you go anywhere else, you're not going to hear them say this, but because we believe in so much of raising the bar in our industry, we do require our doulas here at IDLM to maintain continuing education hours. We give them to you for free, but you have to have 12 a year, and every 2 years you submit for a new certification. You don't need to do anything else as long as you've completed the quizzes in our portal system under our continuing education tab. We go in, we see that you've done the quizzes, great. We send you out another little card because what we send out is a live certificate that says Certified End-of-Life Doula Specialist. And then you're gonna get a little card with it as well that has the expiration date. And so you'll be able to utilize that as well. But we'll just, if you want us to send you out a new little card, it's $10. If you want just a PDF copy of that and email to you, it's only $5. So we try to keep everything very accessible and feasible for everybody. So our format. So like I had mentioned earlier, we do have live online classes. We do have self-paced classes. We do have in-person classes. Currently, we only have in-person classes in Texas. We have Austin, San Antonio. We're going to be opening up in Houston in the fall, but we'll be opening Atlanta in the fall, Virginia in the fall, and a few other locations. We just also opened up a partnership in New Jersey. So we're definitely trying to serve those individuals that want to do an in-person program. But even that, it is, nothing, I have to say this, nothing is different regardless if you take a live online class, an in-person class, or a self-paced class. The education is all across the board the same. We don't change it up and make it, shorten it this way for an in-person class or anything like that. No, we don't do that because I feel like here at IDLM and our team feels it's our responsibility to make sure that everybody gets the same training and that everybody gets all the tools that they need. Now, I will say in our in-person classes, the difference there is we bring in, you'll have guest speakers. So you will watch the recordings from our live classes that we do online. For example, first day, you'll have orientation, then you'll have We'll cover a couple modules. Then you're going to go home, and typically our lot in-person classes, you have to go every other week, every 2 weeks. That's in person. Then the next week when you come back, you will have had homework. You would watch those videos, and then in class, we're doing the skills training and the discussions and all of that. Our online live classes, those, the way it's worked out is they go for 12 weeks. If you take a Saturday class like the one we have coming up, it's from 10 to 3. You will cover roughly about 2 modules in that classroom setting. We have open discussion. We do activities. We do breakout rooms. It's very interactive. Our self-pace is where you go through the program, you watch the recordings, you have to do the activities on your own, and you have to do the assignments. Same across the board. So let me share with you a little bit about the training. So here at IDLM, the way we train is day 1 is typically like an orientation. We do our doula work 101. That's where we kind of talk about palliative and the difference between palliative and hospice, the roles of the doula. We go over code of ethics and scope of practice. We have our inclusivity practice, LGBTQ. We also have our contemplative doula modules. We talk about getting in touch with your own mortality, because if you're not in touch with your own mortality, how can you help others explore, right? So we do go over that. We talk about holding end of life and death discussions, whether if you're, maybe you want to go in your community and maybe do something in your local library and educate about why people, you know, need to have advanced planning done, right? So we talk about having those and holding different types of discussions. We also have we have a very lovely partnership. We have lots of partnerships with wonderful people in our end of life industry, like Barbara Carnes and the Death Deck, Lisa Paul there. We just have amazing partnerships. So the EOL deck and the Death Deck are the creators by Lisa Paul, and I cannot think of her partner's name off my name right now. But Lisa did a video that explains how to use those cards when you're working with clients, how to do like a what do they call it, death over drafts, where you go to like a little local pub and everybody gets a drink and they play the Death Deck or the EOL deck. She teaches you how to utilize those cards in your community. We talk about, now if you see here, we break up our stages of end of life into 3 modules. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh. Well, the reason we do that is we do an introductory, which is kind of like more of a lecture part. Then, like I had mentioned before, I don't know how many of you all are familiar with Barbara Carnes, but we have licensing rights to all of her videos. So what we do is we have permission and to house in our portal and to share live with y'all this is how people die. And it's a $300 value video that you don't have to pay for because I've paid it for you. You also get the access to go back in and watch those videos anytime in your portal system. But we watch that 3-part video. We also will do a doula apprenticeship afterwards. And basically with that apprenticeship is we take all of the stuff that we've learned here and we put it into use. How are you going to use it as a doula? So you get that real life feel and practice with the other students in the classroom. And we have gotten wonderful, amazing feedback. One of our students had said that what she really loved was that we're not just giving you the technical knowledge about things. We're training you also how to be a doula in your community. And that's what the end goal is, to go out and support our community. So moving on, the rest of the modules here that you see, we'll talk about obituaries, eulogies, medical aid and dying, voluntary stop eating and drinking, which is legal in Canada and in the United States. We'll talk about grief, and we'll talk about common diseases and infection control. And we have that there because, yes, we are non-medical, but we want our doulas, when you're working with somebody, oh, well, I've learned about CHF in doula school, so they're going to have a higher chance of having fluid retention. They're going to have, potentials of having edema, things like that. So we want you to know what you're going to see the medical staff doing so that you're already aware and you can help prep your client. We also cover pediatrics. And I have to say, so there's a couple of modules here, like the grief, the pediatrics, our life planning module. Those modules lay a solid foundation for you. For example, our life planning program is 17 weeks long. I don't have enough time in the doula program, and you all would probably go insane trying to learn all this stuff in one setting, you know? So we have a whole other separate program for anybody that wants to include that in. We want you to specialize your own practice. We want you to pick what you want to do in your practice. So we give you we give you a solid foundation of what you need to work as a doula, but we do have those specializations. We'll talk about companion doula, communication, teledoula. We'll also talk to you about paperwork and forms and agreements. And guess what? We don't brand our templates. Why reinvent the wheel? We're going to give you those templates, and you can actually go in, create your own business name, username, whatever you want to do, edit, add things, whatever you want to do. It's completely up to you. You have a template that you can move around. We talk about home wakes and cremations and funerals, and we talk about the ins and outs, because there are some strict guidelines when it comes to that area. As doulas, we have to follow and watch. So we do have our end of life religions, legacy work, life planning, like I mentioned before, presenting to your community as a doula. How do you do that? We even give you PowerPoints to use and resources that I use every day out there in my own community. So, and then before we wrap up, we will take you through a big case study. We had so much fun this weekend. Our Saturday class just wrapped up, and they really, really enjoyed. We did a case study where they had to come back and tell us and present how would they work this client if it was theirs. And it was just, I mean, they didn't plan for this. They didn't know anything about it until they came in class, and my goodness, they did an amazing job. But then right before we end, we do talk about what are your next steps? What are the things you need to do so that you don't leave the program saying, I don't know what to do. I never want anybody to ever say that. So throughout the program, though, you will see assignments. We do have one big case study that all the students do and turn in. We do quizzes and exams, and those are all open books. So don't have to worry if you're not a test taker type of person. Don't worry, me neither. But how would y'all like to see a quick video about a case study that one of our students did that really kind of shows you what that role of the doula would look like? Sound good? Awesome.
Hiya, my name is Isabel, but my friends and family always called me Izzy. Up here they try and be a little more formal, but I can be a bit rebellious. So it's Izzy up here too. I was right. Heaven is what you want it to be. I get to have my barefoot toes in the sand every day. It truly is heaven. I want to take a minute and tell you a little story. Not your typical fairy time bedtime story, but more so about someone who helped me live the best death of my life. So forgive me in advance if I get a little choked up. A little background. I was mad. I was angry. Boy, I was confused when the doctor looked me in the face and said that my stage 4 cervical cancer had gone into my bones. My brothers, Doug and Kevin, and my mother were immediately by my side. You know I love my brothers when I made them powers of attorney back when I did my advance directive. I'm a planner by nature, you see. Best I can anyway. But life sure does have a way of throwing a wrench in that planning sometimes. All right, sorry, back on track. The doctor told me he wanted me to consider hospice. Those 7 letters scared me to death, literally. So I wanted to chat with my family about that decision. But the pain just became, oh God, it was just so much. So they admitted me into their inpatient unit. And I'm not gonna lie, the morphine and the Ativan became my very best friends. Mom and the boys decided they never wanted me to be alone, even though I was in a 24-hour care facility. So they brought in an end-of-life doula. Her name was Heather, and I remember the first time she walked into my room. I was certainly apprehensive, but my family reassured me and reminded me that God had my back. She certainly wasn't there to add confusion. Mom actually said she did an incredible job explaining how she would support all of us. What her rates were, it was all spelled out in a contract. She had talked with Mom and knew a lot about me already. but she wanted to talk to me too. She wanted to know how things were. Wasn't too excited about sharing a lot of stuff, but she said it was important and it was a good thing to do. It would even help eliminate stress on my family. She asked me about my diagnosis, what my thoughts were, how I was feeling. She knew details like Doug was my main power of attorney and that my advance directive was in my file she had created. She knew I was safe in a hospice and that my family was very engaged. She took all of that and developed a care plan. That girl listened a lot. I wish I had thought to ask her about herself and her family, but she stayed completely focused on us. Heather was gentle, honest, and spoke in a plain non-medical language. Mom says she wasn't a medical professional, but she certainly followed HIPAA to a T, and I was grateful for that. Heather never crossed any lines. She let the doctors and nurses do my medical. She let the chaplain do my faith. She was just there for us. Even went to get dinner a few times. Needless to say, since Kevin was in charge of Pan, they got Chick-fil-A a lot. Boy, that boy loves him some sandwiches. I'm not gonna lie, I miss him too. And she never took sides, even when Kevin and Doug were quarreling. She just wouldn't pick a side. She just pulled out of her magic bag a pamphlet and let them look over it, and they figured out the answer all on their own. In that bag, it was something like out of a Mary Poppins movie. She could pull anything out of it from Kleenex to the Bible. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to die at home, and that was my goal. Being in a monitored facility is great, I guess, and they definitely do their best to make it homey. But let's be real, it ain't. Not only were they in and out, I had lots of visitors. Heather had asked how I felt about that, so she was gracious to them and allowed them time, answered their questions, even referred them to resources. She never, ever predicted my death. She just told them, yes, Izzy is dying. You know what else is cool? When they called to ask to come visit, Mom and Heather told them to bring Ostromeris flowers. My room was filled with them. They were so beautiful, more than you will ever know. Things were starting to get worse, and the pain just kept increasing. I'll admit I started losing my faith and questioning the heck out of God. I was a good woman. I volunteered at a homeless shelter, the Boys and Girls Club. Those kids had my heart, but God was losing mine. She just sat there and listened. She seemed to absorb so much and thought about things that we never would have, like asking me if there was anybody in particular I wanted to see. I emphatically remember saying yes, yes. She looked at me with pure joy in her heart and asked if she could get my kids from the Boys and Girls Club on a Zoom call. And that girl made it happen. I put on my bravest face, and I remember looking at those 5 beautiful souls, told them I believed in them and I'd watch over them. Cried like a daggone baby when we were finished, but it filled me with such love. I remember that night, Heather looking at me and asking me how bad my pain was. I didn't lie. It was like she could already tell. It was horrific. It was then that she asked how I guess how I was feeling about my struggles with God. When I couldn't get the words out, She asked if I wanted the chaplain to come in. I hadn't realized it, but it was what I needed. And she made it happen. And she just sat there holding my hand as the chaplain began to restore my faith. I still don't know what her religious beliefs were, because to her, the only ones that mattered were mine. My mom had always been my biggest supporter, and being in the room so often was wearing her down. Heather looked at her with such compassion and explained that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. Even she made sure to take care of herself because she always wanted to have the energy and the heart to help others. Mom finally went home. She took a shower and a nap. There were times when I didn't understand what was going on around me. I think my body knew I was dying, and I know the pain was beyond what any human should have to endure. Heather always supported the hospice advice and even shared with them that my pain was unbearable. They were fantastic, but I really think she and I truly connected, and I still believe it was her and her concerns that convinced them to put me in that induced coma. I remember so many internal battles, just so many. And I remember drifting off into that coma, but I can't tell you how grateful I was not to be in pain anymore. I knew God had me then and that Heather had my family, but let's not get it twisted. I had always heard that hearing was the last sense to go. You know what? They're right. Things were a little fuzzy, but I could feel the beautiful energy in that room and hear those sweet words coming from the mouths of the ones I loved. Everyone was around me when I took my last breath. It was far sooner than I had ever hoped. I was 39 years old, 3 weeks from my diagnosis, and boom, I was gone. But you want to know something super cool? Angels have power. I was able to witness things to this day that I find amazing. Heather's contract was written and paid in advance, but when my passing happened so much sooner than expected, Heather gave Mom part of her money back. That's honesty and confidence. That girl documented everything. Mom literally had a play-by-play. While Heather didn't have to share her notes with her, she did. Heather sat there and typed my obituary out based on what I had told her and the information Mom gave her. It told everyone about my love for travel, and art, and music, and dance. My favorite songs were played at my funeral, and Heather even suggested that my artwork be displayed for everyone to see. And it was a little embarrassing. I remember watching from afar, and I was completely blown away at all the Ostromary's flowers. How could they find so many? Doug and Evan handled most of the details, but Mom and Heather put the extra touches on it. It was then that I pretty much understood why Heather was so inquisitive. She was inquisitive while I was laying in that bed, really just not completely understanding why she was asking me those questions. But she wanted things to be perfect. She wanted them the way I wanted them. She had everything at her fingertips to guide my family through the whole process. And if she didn't, she figured it out. She didn't come to my funeral. She was with another young woman who needed her. But she checked in several more times with Mom and helped her with grief support. You know, it's not so bad here in my little piece of heaven. I miss my family, but I know they and Heather helped me live the best death of my life. Well, it's time for me to go. I'm being fitted for my wings shortly. These training ones are a little awkward and kind of itchy. but they're letting me get pink ones. I'm super excited. And I gotta do something about this music up here. I need a little more fun.
Right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that little video. It's a great little video to just kind of show you a little bit of a glimpse what it would look like for a doula. Just waiting for my camera to get back on. All right. So a lot of different perks that we offer here at IDLM is our free business 101. We do online graduations, my in-person classes. We do have in-person graduations. You do get a free listing in our IDLM doula directory. And what we offer is a community app, and I'll take y'all in there in just a second, where we have our book club society. We offer free monthly grief support for all of our doulas. We have family events. We have state-to-state groups. You get free updates to your course. So those students who took our courses back in the very first year, we started off at 12 modules. You know what? Now they've been updated to the 28 modules. They're always welcome to come in and audit the course. Once you've taken the program, we provide one-on-one support to our graduates all the time. There's not a limit on that. We want you to be successful, and we want to help you be successful and have a sustainable doula practice, and we will do that with you. Again, I mentioned about our continuing education as well. You do get also our free community app, which is, let me take it all in there. Switch screens here. So this is like, think of it as a Facebook for doulas. And what you will see is that we have events here. We also have past events. So for about 2.5 years, you can have all the events that we've done all this time. There's recordings there for you. We have monthly mentoring group. We have classroom stuff, things that are going on. We recently just had a CE night with Barbara Carnes. And so you'll be able to see those as well. And this one is housed actually in our CE tab, because it was another video that we showed that we have licensing rights, and due to those licensings, we had to keep that in the portal. So here's another one that we did. We had another partnership that we have is Odontocare, which is the care plan, which is one of the books that we do ask our students to purchase for our program. There's this book, and then the Barbara Carnes End of Life Guidelines series. We do ask our students to purchase those books. Those of you that are close nearby to me, instead of ordering it online, I have a box here of the books, and you can purchase directly from me for $5. And don't have to worry about your shipping. But I wanted to show you this one because right here you'll see there's a recording link. So same for, like I said, for the last 2.5 years, you can go, and anything that's recorded, you'll be able to watch those recordings. You also see that we also had another CE night where we did abuse and neglect for doulas. There's a feed just like Facebook where you can skim. People put in all kinds of stuff here. They share different resources and articles. There's also we did, who is it, the other day somebody posted something really cool, and I was like, yes. Aspen, I had shared with, she's one of our graduates. She had called me. Her mom she was having some difficulties with her mother. And I said, why don't you just use the visiting physicians? And she was like, what? And so I explained to her what that was. And so she was just sharing her experience of using the visiting physicians for her mother. So people share all kinds of stuff in here. We post all kinds of things. This Sunday, matter of fact, we're going to have a CE night with assisted technologies. So learning about different technologies out there that you can use to help, share that information with the clients and families that you work with. Over here, you'll see that we have news and announcements. We have job boards because we get calls all the time for people looking for doulas. We also are getting ready to have our first annual Tree of Life conference, which is going to be held here in San Antonio. It's basically a conference for doulas by doulas. And so we have amazing industry leaders coming in, and all the information is on our website. You'll see that we offer free library resources, workshops and webinars, marketing and business discoveries to our other programs, our industry discussions, mindsets and habits, professional shares. And then if you decide that you want to not only, take our doula course here, you'll see that our doula classes are right here. They have private groups there as well throughout the program. And then we also have our other groups. So our advanced planning group, our pediatrics, our dementia, our pet doula program, they have their own classroom groups. So those you would just join if you have purchased those courses. We have our IDLM doula mentoring that helps you building your business. We have our book club society. We have death positive talks every month. We have our free grief support every month. We have a diversity and inclusivity group. We have a military spouses group. So a lot of great things in here. You can direct message people. You can do all types of wonderful things in there. So I would like to now open up to answer any questions that y'all might have. I know that was a lot of information. I apologize, but we want to make sure you got everything.
So is there different in pricing between the courses, like live,
Nope,
in
it's all.
person?
And the reason we do that, some people say, well, why don't you go cheaper on this or that? No, because everybody gets the same. Everybody still gets the free one-on-one support, which technically, if we were to charge, I've seen people charge anywhere from $60 to $150 an hour for that. We don't charge. You also get probably close to about $10,000 of free training in the community app that we don't charge you for. So we just have that flat fee. And I do have to say, we do offer payment plans. Anyone that is called to this line of work, if the payment plan doesn't fit your budget, we always ask you, just reach out to me. I'm happy to work a payment plan that will work with your budget as well. So we want to make sure that people that are called to this line of work are able to get the training. I'd rather you go through our training than to spend $150 for one of those courses online. That's not going to give you anything you need. So do we have any other questions? And I see we had a phone number pop in. Hello, welcome. I know you're muted, but feel free to unmute. Share where you're located and if you have any questions.
I don't know that I really have a question. So I have no like hospice experience or background experience. But it's just something I feel very like interested in, or I don't know. I keep getting kind of drawn to that, and I'll read books about like the hospice nurses and end of life things. And then my dad recently passed in September, and so that whole experience of being there and then seeing the support that my mom didn't get that maybe needed, right, and still is needing for this journey, because they were somewhat prepared but not fully. Like my dad had no funeral plans, and I was doing that as he was on hospice at home, and he was dying. Yeah, and I'm at the funeral home, right? So I just feel really drawn to kind of this, and I don't know why, but that's.
Sometimes we don't know why we're being and what the calling is, but we know we're called to it. And when we answer that calling, I'm telling you, everything falls into place. So when I was starting out IDLM, I was working a full-time job in the hospice inpatient unit and also going out and doing crisis care. It enabled me to be around for my children. I literally would take my kids to school in the morning. If I was working in the inpatient unit, I was doing a 3 to 11 shift. And if I was doing crisis care, I was doing 8 to 8. So one way or another, I never got to pick up my kids. I never got to be off and, do things that I needed to do with them. And then I was teaching, right? Because I started IDLM, and then I was working with a hospice that was just starting out, and they wanted to have a doula on staff. And so with my one day off, I was doing that. So basically I had literally maybe one day a week off, and not even that, because I taught on Saturdays. So when basically a family member told me, Anna, it's time to either put your big girl panties on, get off the potty, and do what you need to do and make it work and do it. And so when I did that, I quit my full-time job because I was able to, because then by then my hospice hours had increased and it was fine. But when I was able to do that and really focus on doula work, everything came into play. And I haven't looked back since. And I was happy to be able to leave because hospice has become so medical, and it's not meant to be medical. And there are so many families too that I will say that in the inpatient unit, I have worked with so many families that we would get a lot of clients that would come from the hospital and be directly over to hospice. And many of those clients maybe had a stroke in the middle of the night or a heart attack, and came to the inpatient unit. And so I had an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old trying to make final decisions for their mother, where they were worried about trying to figure and navigate that out, that they couldn't even spend those last moments with her.
Right.
And it wasn't just the young children that I was seeing having to deal with this, even older kids dealing with their parents. Or, I've worked with pediatrics, I've worked with 20s and 30-year-olds too. And so and I will tell you, each and every time my car broke down, I was using a Lyft to go back to pick up the vehicle. And a gentleman picked me up and we started talking. And he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm an end-of-life doula." So of course I explained to him, because he's like, "What in the world is that?" And I explained to him what I do. And he said, "Man, I wish I would have had you 7 years ago when my wife had cancer. I needed someone to help navigate through this system because I was lost." So I think if you really just listen to your heart, and if this is something that's really calling and tugging at you, go for it. Go for it.
I feel like,
Okay.
am I unmuted? Can
Yes, you're good.
Okay. I think I get mixed reactions when I say that this is what I want to do. And I think it's like anything, like people that want to be a teacher and work with kids. I think because it's a kind of a taboo subject,
Mhm.
people aren't used to it yet. But hopefully someday it'll just be like saying, I want to be a teacher, or
Right.
I want to be, whatever. I want to be a librarian.
There is a shift, especially after COVID. I saw more of a shift. More people being okay with us using it, but there are still some areas throughout the world that you can't use end-of-life doula or death doula as the
Right.
term. What
Right.
you may use as is a end-of-life educator or a transitional coach.
Right. Yeah.
Work. And we work. That's why it's so important that we work individually with our students as well, because then we can tell you can say, "Oh, well, my area is very conservative, da, 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 da." And then we would tell you, "Okay, what feels better for you, this term or that term?" Or, and how do you approach it? We cater those approaches because every area is different.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think back to your question, if you feel called to do it, I think you're meant to do it,
Yeah,
because not everybody feels called to do it. And I think
absolutely.
it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You
We
just
don't come to this work by accident.
Mhm.
Right.
We're brought to this work, and it could be from, just like Kay was talking about, having to make all those plans and do all that work when she really should have been sitting bedside with her dad and able to be with him. She shouldn't have had to worry about, he's going to die. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that doulas can do. We go into our communities. It's not all just working one-on-one with families, but going into the communities and holding community events and speaking at, networking groups and educating people so they understand. I do a lot of networking, and there's a group that I've been networking with for over a year and have spoke to on a couple of occasions. And they recently asked me to speak again. And then it was like the light bulbs went off in their heads for some reason. And it was like a bazillion questions. And they're like, Pam, I think I just got it. Because they don't understand the depths of what a doula can offer.
Right.
And having a doula, it would have been great if Kay had a doula that could say, well, let me help you. Let me discuss this with you. Let me help you with that. And still, even though plans weren't made, she could help make those plans. So Kay could have still focused where she needed to focus. And somebody else could have been helping her get all that information gathered together.
Yeah.
Right.
It is an invaluable service.
And I think it's not even for people who are diagnosed with a terminal illness or hospice is called in. 20 years ago, my husband died of a heart attack at 29.
Wow.
And I called the coroner, and the last thing that I said to him, his dead body, was wake up, and I'm losing my mind, crying. And if one of the phone calls, if the first phone call I would have made was to a doula, which I didn't even know what that was then, I could have calmed down and been present and said goodbye properly, which never got to have, would have been so different.
Yeah.
You would have had somebody you could lean on.
Mhm.
It's, you know, you said people think you're crazy when you talk about doing this, but we do it as a service so that people like yourself with your first husband don't have to suffer.
Right.
And so that we can be present for people like you or for people like Kay. We can be present and guide the way if it's nothing more than answering questions. Sometimes it's nothing more than sitting with somebody and holding their hand. You don't have to be, I've done as much work in silence with people as I've done running my mouth.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes they just need that person to be present in that space, to recognize they're in pain and to be there with them.
Yes, exactly.
So it is sacred work. And I can't imagine doing anything else. And I am one of those doulas that do bedside vigil. I mean, I do it all. I go in the front door from the beginning, and I literally don't leave until they tell me to go away. And I will tell my clients that. How long are you going to be here? I'm here until you no longer need me. Tell me, go home. Tell me, go away. I've never had anybody tell me that. I've had them say, are you leaving? Yeah, it's time to go now. But it is a chance to support someone in their weakest moments and to help them be able to spend time with their loved ones.
Yeah.
So that they're not totally focused on what needs to be done. Because I was like Kay. I mean, I was the mom, I was the daughter, I was the sister, I was the aunt, I was the cousin, and I was the doula. And I was doing it all. And I didn't have anybody to support me when my father died 13 years ago. And it was a nightmare.
Right.
I would have loved to have had someone like me that I could have, if nothing more, said, can you just get me a cup of hot tea? That would have been amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've taken a doula course when we were locked down in 2020, at the very beginning.
Can I ask where you took it?
I did Suzanne O'Brien's course.
I knew you were going to say that. I could just
Did you?
feel it in my bones.
I have not done any work since. I've done like volunteer stuff, people I know who are diagnosed with something, and I go and, basically just be me.
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily, I don't know if I apply anything or not, but I do know that I still feel like, where do I start? What do I do? Who do I connect with? I still don't feel like
You didn't get what you needed.
right. Yeah.
And that's how IDLM came about.
Oh.
Because Anna was educating people in our class. And I came out of the class going, I just gave this lady $3,000 and I could have taught the class, and it wasn't even taught, it was a webinar. You couldn't get your questions answered. And it was anything you wanted beyond that. Honesty, you're nickel and dime to death.
Right.
And
right. Yes.
You get nothing. And if you want to start a business, she gives you everything you need so you can continue putting her name out there.
Right.
That's not what we do. We give you
Right.
everything you need. We support you in everything you need. We give you all the paperwork you need. It's set up so all you have to do is brand it to your own business. And the one thing Anna and I do, and we say this all the time, if you take our classes and you do our business 101 and you use us as a resource, we're going to do everything for you, but turn on the light and pay the electric bill. If
Well,
you
I can say that this is the most real conversation I've had with professional doulas since I became interested in it. Like,
because Anna and I are really fed up. We are fed up with the bank robbers. We're fed up with the webinars. We're fed up with you get an hour of discussion here, 2 slides of that there. IDLM was the first school to ever talk about advanced care planning. I wrote the course. It was very short in the beginning. It no sooner hit my Facebook page that I was teaching this class in 24 hours. I kid you not. Suzanne O'Brien had an all you need to know about advanced care planning class. She didn't even talk about it in her course.
right.
Breezed right past it, which I have always, it's been something I've always focused on. The same thing happens. We have a dementia course. We have an amazing dementia course. Our dementia instructor wrote a book. Her book hit Amazon. There is a school that took the cover of her book to advertise their program.
Oh, that's kind of shady. So how much is your program?
Our program is $800. We will offer a bonus tonight, a bundle bonus, where if you choose to take the end of life doula class and the advanced planning, which starts in August,
Yeah.
we will do that. It's typically $800 for each of those courses. We'll bring it down to $1,350.
Okay. And then how long is the course?
So the online course is 12 weeks every Saturday. It starts this coming Saturday, actually.
Okay.
Our in-person class for San Antonio starts Saturday the 27th. It meets every other Saturday from 9 to 5 in the medical center.
And then you said you have a at your own pace kind of a thing.
She's in Sausalito, Anna. She's not local.
Yes, but Kay is in San.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. The self-pace you can take at your own pace. There's no time. They're starting, you can start at any time. You can finish at any time. One thing that I will say, the only thing that really makes it different between those 2 classes or those 3 classes is that you will always get a recap email. We don't do that on our self-pace because I don't know where everybody's at.
Right.
But with the live classes, there's live discussions, interactions, and there's always a class email that goes out afterwards, recapping what we did, what's to come, and what's and your assignments for the week.
Okay. So if you missed a Saturday, you can
get the recording. And the advanced care planning class, I don't advise anybody to take that class self-paced. I don't advertise it as self-paced.
Okay.
Because too much discussion and too many things that we talk about. And that's a class that I have people that took it when we first launched it 3 years ago now that have come back and taken it once a year because there's so much information in that class together. So that's just not a class. That class I do not offer as a self-paced class.
Okay.
What else was I going to say? Okay. The one thing though about the live class, we do require 8 hours of bedside, and I do have places for you to go, so that won't be an issue. Even though you're in New Braunfels, that's not a problem. And then also there is there's something else. Sorry, my brain just lost its train of thought. It got fuzzy. Let's see, 9 to 5, 8 hours bedside. Oh, and we do a field trip to Lavernia Memorial, which is a natural cemetery. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun.
It is. And I always try to jump in our live classes and show y'all when we're there so that y'all can see it by video at least. So it's a really great place. Yeah, it's a really great place. So, well, do we have any other questions? I know we have a phone number on, but I'm not sure if you